Rebuild Refuge Zombie Apocalypse is a semi-co-op party game for 3 to 8 players. The game takes place in a world infected by the zombie virus. Most of the residents in the society were zombified. Luckily or unluckily, you are immune to the virus and have survived in the apocalypse. To tackle this extreme situation, the world government has no choice but to blow up all infected cities into ashes. The good news is, the world government has also announced the locations of wartime refuges for any survivors to hide from the bombard. Not long after hearing the news, you have moved to the location of the nearest refuge. In there you have met other survivors who are in a similar condition to you, yet the place needs to be reinforced and supplies refilled to make it through the bombard. In such a difficult time, no one can be trusted. Be careful, they may not be your allies. Keep your fingers crossed and watch your back. Welcome to my Kickstarter preview of Rebuild Refuge Zombie Apocalypse. Hey everyone, this is Thakos and today I'm bringing you my Kickstarter preview of Rebuild Refuge Zombie Apocalypse. A big thanks to Board Game Monster who provided me with a preview copy of the game. Know that this is a prototype and everything you see and hear in this video can still change. That includes gameplay, rules and components. As usual, before I'll share my thoughts on the game, let me guide you through the setup and the rules. Keep in mind that there are timestamps so you can navigate to the section in the video you're interested in the most. Bonus points for you if you watch the entire video. Alright, for the setup, each player chooses one of these character cards and the corresponding player token in the same color. Then remove all cards marked with a 6+ sign if you're playing with 3, 4 or 5 players. It's this symbol with the 3 hands right here. Unfold the game board and put it in the center of the table so that everyone can reach it with ease. If the player count is 3 or 4, place a non-player meeple on each of the 5 buildings as non-player characters. Then place the doom marker on the corresponding starting point. Place it here for 3 to 4 players, here for 5 to 6 players and here for 7 to 8 players. After that, place the refuge units as well as the action card deck beside the board. Place a zombie disc each on buildings B and E. Also hand each player one of these handy reference cards. Then, before you start playing, you determine the starting player. That is the player who most recently got the flu. Alternatively, you can also play a few games of chess. You play in 2 teams. The team who first wins 2 sets claims the victory and begins the game. This may take a while, but then you're already warmed up for some board games. That's a win-win situation even if you lose, right? Starting with the first player in clockwise order, each player places their meeple on one building on the map. The choice is up to them. The last player to do so additionally puts the 3rd zombie disc on a building of their choice. Then each player draws 6 cards and keeps 4 as their starting hand. The other 2 are discarded at the same time in a common discard pile beside the map. And now you're ready to play. The game end condition is twofold here, since Rebuild Refuge is a semi-cooperative game. Condition 1 happens when any player has enough refuge units on their building. Then all players on that building win the game. The number of required refuge units is shown in this table. Note that the number of refuge units gets higher the more players are on the respective building. Condition 2 happens when the doom marker moves onto the doom field and no player has enough refuge units on their building. Then all players lose the game. As you can see, it's possible for no one, or more than 1 players to win the game. To play the game, start from the first player and proceed in a clockwise manner. In your turn, you can do one of 4 actions: research, race, rush, as well as rest and regroup. Let me go over all of these now. To research, you draw 2 cards from the deck. Then select 1 card and add it to your hand. Discard the other card to the common discard pile. Keep in mind that each player has a maximum of 7 cards in their hand and played area. Since you can't take this action when you have reached the hand limit, you can only take this action 3 times during the entirety of the game. To raise, you play an action card from your hand to your played area and resolve its effect. I will go over all cards' effects in a bit. To rush, you discard an action card from your hand to your played area. This lets you move your meeple 1 or 2 steps in a clockwise direction. To rest and regroup, you take all of the cards in your play area back into your hand and then discard the same number of cards from the deck. If, for example, you take back 4 cards from the play area, you discard 4 cards from the deck. Why is this irrelevant? I hear you scream at your screen. Well, every time the deck runs out, the following events occur. First, you shuffle the discard pile and form a new action deck. And then you move the doom marker forward. Remember, when the marker reaches the last space without any player having enough refuge units on their building, all players lose. Also, all zombies now move one step clockwise and bite all players in the destination. All of this can also happen in the middle of the turn. So this is how a typical turn plays out, but there are a few more things to know. First of all, let me go over the card effects. The most important card is Rebuild. When you play this action card to your play area, you put a refuge unit on the current building of your meeple. If there are not enough refuge units, you can use any object to represent such a token. I suggest using a banana. A garlic press is fine as well. The card Revenge lets you move any meeple one step clockwise. Any meeple does mean exactly that. You can also move any NPC or meeple of another player. The card Rapid and Ready lets you gain either 2 additional race actions or a block action. Gaining 2 additional race actions lets you play 2 additional action cards. I will explain the block action soon. Playing the card Resonant of Hell lets you move a zombie disc 0 to 2 steps clockwise. Then the zombie bites all players on that building. Alternatively, you can play this card as a block action at any time to defend from such a bite. Playing Risk lets you select any building and remove 2 refuge units on it. Alternatively, you can also play it as a cancel effect. More about that a bit later. Last but not least, Rage lets you choose a player and discard a number of cards from their hand to their play area. That number equals the number of players on the target player's building. You can also play that card as a cancel effect. Before I give you my review, there are a few concepts you still need to know. When a zombie bites, they always bite all players on the same building. The affected players then turn over their character cards to indicate that bite. They are now injured and skip the next turn. After doing so, they flip their card back to the front side. A zombie will not bite a player with a flipped card though, so you never lose 2 turns in a row. There's also the cancel effect. Some cards allow you to cancel an action card played by another player even when it's not your turn. To cancel an action card, you play a card with a cancel effect and then roll the 10-sided die. Compare the result to the battle value on the action card you're trying to cancel. The action value is this number right here. If the result of the die is equal to or greater than the battle value, the cancel effect is successful and the action card's effect is cancelled. If the result of the die is lower than the battle value, the cancel effect fails and the action card is resolved normally. By the way, cancel effects can also be cancelled by another cancel effect. There are also cards depicting a block action. Playing such cards as a block action is possible at any time, even when it's not your turn. This lets you defend from a zombie bite. That way you are not injured, don't have to turn over your character card, and don't have to skip a turn. And that is all you need to know to play Rebuild Refuge Zombie Apocalypse. What do you think about the game? Well, let me tell you. But first let me pour a bit of tea. There we go. Much better. Alright, I'm ready now. First, I really like the theme. And I don't mean zombies especially, but post-apocalyptic themes. I really love those. Games with such a coat of paint can really make games exciting or tense if done well. Dawn of the Zeds is a brilliant example for that. There's a reason that game is part of my best of videos. Also, I really like the art design of the cards. They look amazing. They look slightly anime-like, but they are still not too cutesy or anything like that. I don't think I own any game with a similar style. Also, the way single colors are combined with black looks really slick. I love the style. The components of the game are really good, especially since this is supposed to be a prototype copy. The box is just large enough to house all components, which is great. I really can't stand game boxes that are only filled halfway or even less. This is not the case here, which is wonderful. Also, I like that the meeples and refuge tokens are made from wood. There generally is only a little plastic in here, another great aspect. The cards and the boards have a decent quality as well. They're nothing special, but we didn't have any issues with the quality when playing. This is a really nice and small package. The game mechanics work really well. You do need to think about which strategies to employ, when to research, when to play new cards and which cards to play. There's some nice tactical decisions here that I can get behind. Also, this game has a nice player count. You can play it with up to 9 players, but there's also a minimum player count of 3, which is awesome. I'm generally a fan of different and lots of player counts in games. Although I really like the art style of the cards, I think that the map could have used a different coat of paint. It does not look as slick as the cards, and in general it does not really fit the art style. Would you have given me the cards and the map, I wouldn't have known for sure that they belong to the same game. It would be great if the upcoming campaign could be used to change a few things there. Also, the purple zombie discs as well as character card are a bit too dark. This should not be hard to fix though. The idea of the semi-cooperative nature of the game is really cool. Not many games do that and can be really exciting. The issue I had with the implementation here is that if you agree to work together and you stick to that, it's way too easy to win. In our first game we decided to work together and all we did was meet on the same building and build enough refuge units. And that was it. Yes, someone could have screwed you over, but why would they? They would win anyway. This would just be an awful move. You shouldn't want others to lose, but just to see that you survive, right? A few things that could be done to remedy that is, for example, force movements of the NPCs at certain points in the game. Maybe whenever someone is reclaiming all the lost cards, all NPCs could move a specific number of buildings. Or make it random with the die. Also, the zombies could be forced to move more often whenever specific triggers happen. Maybe even the player meeples could be moved by force. All of these aspects would lead to a more dynamic and random game and would give people more reason to work against each other. I'm sure there could be even more incentives to play against each other. It'd be great if some rules could be changed to reflect that. But keep in mind that I haven't played the game at the maximum player counts yet. That might change things, but a board game should work at all player counts indicated on the box. All in all, I definitely enjoyed playing the game. The production quality is good, and the game mechanics work well. The art design and theme are great and the high point of this game. The gameplay itself suffers slightly from missing reasons to go against each other, especially at lower player counts. You should always try to play against each other in this game, otherwise it's too easy. But maybe the designer can change a few rules to remedy that. This campaign is definitely worth a look if you like what you see or like post-apocalyptic themes in general, especially with zombies. As usual, I will put the link to the campaign in the description of this video. If you're still watching, thank you very much for doing so, I highly appreciate that. If you liked this preview, why don't you let me know in the comments? I'd love to hear from you. Also, I have loads more videos on my channel that are just waiting for you to check them out. Also, sometimes life can be really tough, especially right now. Still, give it your best to be kind to each other. Don't forget that kindness is something you can't give away since it always comes back. Alright, that's all for today. Thank you very much for watching and I'll see you in the very next video. Take care everyone and cheers.